broadcasting for the betterment of Western Oregon. Yeah, at least that's what we tell the FCC. It's the wake-up call coming at you on 1120 KPNW.
642 wake-up call. She is a correspondent with NBC's Rock Center with Brian Williams. Kate Snow joins us to talk about her contribution to tonight's Rock Center. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning.
Welcome back to the show. Boy, I tell you what, just out of the blocks with the mere mention of just hearing about the subject tonight, talking about babies born addicted to drugs, prescription painkillers in particular, makes, I would think, anybody emotional.
Yeah, it's tough stuff, and I've got to tell you, tonight, when we screened the piece and we were watching it the other day, a bunch of my bosses said, this is really hard to watch, but you have to watch it, because we have to know, all of us need to know what's going on out there, and I think we all know that there's a huge rise in people taking prescription painkillers, and a huge rise in people becoming addicted to those painkillers, but what maybe I hadn't thought about is the link to pregnant women, that some women are getting addicted, and then they become pregnant, and you can't just quit cold turkey once you're pregnant, because you'll have a miscarriage. So then your baby is born essentially addicted to the same drugs you were on.
And from what I can kind of surmise and detect from some of the articles that I was looking through in preparation for today, a lot of these people think because it's prescribed by a health professional that there's no risk, there's no danger.
In some cases, yeah. Some of the women that we met in doing the story, said, I was given this by a doctor, I had back pain, or I had a car accident, or what have you. But I will say, in a lot of cases, women know what they're doing. They're hooked on this stuff, and they know it's not good for them, but they're addicted, and, that's the disease, and they can't just kick it. And then, as one woman said to me, I was so high, I didn't know what I was doing, and I got pregnant because I didn't protect myself. So I think that, that's what's happening in a lot of cases. And then a lot of the women we talked to for tonight are trying to get help. They're trying to wean themselves off of the drugs, but as I said, they can't just go cold turkey. So the baby then ends up being born and having withdrawal symptoms and having to be weaned off themselves.
The stats I've seen pretty jaw-dropping. What have you seen? How frequently are the newborns born almost semi-junkies?
Yeah, well, the latest figures we have are for the year 2009, 13,000 babies in this country born addicted to painkillers. We're talking about more than one an hour every day being born in this country addicted. Some hospitals that we visit, you'll see tonight, in certain hospitals, up to 65% of the little babies in the NICU, in the neonatal intensive care unit, are addicted. I'll say that again, 65%. So 6 out of 10 of the babies in there are addicted and are coming out with withdrawal. It was overwhelming in some places that we went. We went to West Virginia, we went to Florida, and we couldn't believe, and the hospital workers, the doctors and the nurses were saying to us, this has been going on for a couple years now, and people are just starting to pay attention to it.
Speaking of percentage, what's the probability chance of them becoming, addicted to drugs later in life?
They don't know. It's a great question. There's a lot of studying being done right now about whether these babies will eventually grow up to have behavioral problems, addictive tendencies. Will they have attention? A lot of concern about whether they're going to have attention deficit disorder and other kinds of learning disabilities and developmental delays. Those are the big concerns. But honestly, this is so new. It's really in the last 5 years that they've started following kids. So they've got 5-year-olds and 6 and 7-year-olds maybe that they can follow now, but these kids haven't even hit teenage years yet.
Well, a couple of things that you've said here I want to follow up on, and the operative thing was in the last few years they've seen this. Is this something that is just new, or has this been going on for quite a while and they just never noticed it until now? And if the case is it's new, what's changed?
Yeah. It's pretty new, and it goes to, if you think about it, OxyContin, we didn't even know what that was 20 years ago. People weren't being prescribed in the numbers that they're now being prescribed prescription painkillers. Things like OxyContin, Roxicodone, Percocet, those have all, if you look at the number of prescriptions being written in this country, has skyrocketed over the past 10 years. So, and then that's also led, as you know, to a kind of an underground market of people selling those drugs on the street and a lot of people getting hooked. So all of that combined has led to growing numbers of women then getting pregnant on this stuff. So it depends on what part of the country you're in. I don't know the numbers for Oregon, but I know it's out there. It's in every part of this country, but you go to certain pockets like West Virginia, Appalachia, you see even larger numbers, and they've had a problem for like 10 years now. But it's definitely just hitting a lot of areas.
What are the signs that these babies that are potentially addicted? What are they showing? What kind of consequences? What things are they doing that we kind of might be a flag?
Yeah, no, you can tell something's not right. I could tell with my own eyes as a mom that something's not right with these babies. The first thing is they're stiff and rigid. So I held a couple of these babies, and you know how normally you have to put your hand behind their head because they don't have neck control when they're newborn? These babies have total neck control. They can't flop their head back at all. They're stiff. They're rigid like a board. They're crying inconsolably. They're shaking. They have tremors. It's sad to look at, but you know it's recognizable. And most healthcare professionals at this point, they know what to look for. They're trained on this. You know, when they go to medical school, it's just that, as one doctor said to me, I was trained to look for maybe one a year, and now I've got like 20 or 30 a year coming through my NICU.
Impossible to know about all 50 states, but as a whole, are things becoming more difficult as far as punishments, charges, things of that nature being leveled to these moms that are ingesting things, not just drugs, but things that are unhealthy for the baby during pregnancy?
You know, I don't really know the answer to that. I have to confess. I was looking so much at the medical situation for tonight that we didn't get into the criminality. I do know there are certain states that are looking at increasing penalties. I don't know if Oregon is one of them, but they're looking at increasing the penalty for a mother who gets pregnant, making it a crime to intentionally subject your baby to this kind of thing. I will say, though, on the flip side of that, these moms, I don't want people to think these are horrible monsters. I want you to watch tonight because these moms feel awful about what's happened. They feel enormously guilty. They have huge regrets. And a lot of the mothers who were brave enough to talk to us on camera and show their faces say they just did it because they want other moms to know and to learn from their mistakes.
I'm sure you saw, back to the medical then, I'm sure you saw kind of a little bit of the process that goes into weaning these newborns off the drugs.
Yeah.
That had to be tough for you.
Yeah, well, you watch them and you'll see in the very first shots tonight, you'll see this. They give the babies every few hours a dose of morphine. Okay, so what happens is they come out, a baby doesn't always immediately go into withdrawal. Sometimes it takes a few hours, even up to a couple of days for them to start withdrawing. Then they have to put them on morphine or something like it to keep them stable, because if they just let them go through withdrawal, they would die. And in some cases, unfortunately, babies have died. So what they do for treatment is they put them on a morphine and then slowly wean them off of that over a period of weeks, sometimes even months. Sometimes it takes 3 months before the baby is stable enough to go home.
Wow. Rock Center with Brian Williams, 9 o'clock tonight, locally on KMTR here, the NBC affiliate. Kate Snow, always great to talk with you, and keep up the outstanding work.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the day. 6:49. Kate Snow from the arsenal, as I use that word a second time now, of NBC correspondents on Rock Center. They do a great job. Today, a great day to get back to the work. If you have to work, or maybe you wish it was cloudy and miserable out there, so nobody was enjoying anything. 79 for the high. Tomorrow, 80s. In fact, 80s for the next week. 80s, in fact, 80s for the next week into Wednesday of next week. Sunday and Monday, the hot one or two up in the upper 80s. So hopefully you have your AC ready to go. I don't know that you had to use it to this point. You? Finally get that opportunity. Maybe off to the rodeo you want to do it. To take the day off today, then back at it tomorrow, and then kind of busy up your weekend out there at the Horse Center. We'll talk with Wayne White, the voice. If you've ever been to the rodeo, the great thing about it, not only does he sound like the rodeo, but he also kind of fills you in, does the play-by-play. So if you're not, up to speed, he does a great job of that. Also, Carrie Lieberman from Green Hill. Do you know what are they calling the old LCAS?
LCAS
Facility formerly known as LCAS. Green Hill 2.
LCAS Light. No, they're still calling it LCAS.
All right. Carry in and then Gary in the following hour. Plus, 8:40, we'll talk with a number of Blazing Billies, track stars out of Pleasant Hill that are making a big name. Not you think Eugene is considered Tracktown USA? They make a good play, a good argument that Pleasant Hill might be deserving of that as well. We'll talk about the Blazing Billies coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. 11:20 KPNW right now, 53 degrees.
My business.